Massachusetts doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers through brick alleyways, fog-slick harbors, and forests that remember centuries. This is a state where revolutions incubated in taverns, sports were invented inside gymnasiums, and the ground beneath your feet carries some of the oldest stories in North America. Today, we're pulling back the curtain of the Bay State's strangest truths. Not legends, not folklore, documented, verifiable facts hiding in plain sight. If you love uncovering the weird, the unforgotten, and the unbelievable, like this video and subscribe to WunderLust Labs. Now, let's begin the descent. Number 50. Massachusetts has some of the oldest exposed bedrock on Earth. Much of Massachusetts sits atop bedrock formed over 1 billion years ago, making parts of the state geologically older than the Appalachian Mountains themselves. In regions like the Berkshires, exposed metamorphic rock dates back to the Proterozoic eon, long before complex life existed on Earth. These rocks have survived continental collisions, the assembly and breakup of supercontinents, and repeated glaciations. Unlike younger sedimentary regions, Massachusetts' ancient foundation means its landscape was shaped less by erosion and more by tectonic violence. When you hike its hills, you're walking on fragments of Earth's earliest crust, reshaped and pushed skyward during ancient mountain-building events that predate the dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. Number 49. Boston was the first city in the U.S. with a subway. In 1897, Boston opened America's first underground subway system, beating New York by 7 years. Built to relieve crippling street congestion from horse-drawn trolleys, the Tremont Street subway became a global engineering benchmark. Digging beneath a dense colonial-era city required innovative construction methods that influenced subway systems worldwide. Portions of the original tunnels are still in use today, making Boston's transit system not just historic, but continuously operational. This means thousands of commuters pass through 19th century infrastructure daily without realizing they're traveling through the birthplace of America's rapid transit. Number 48. Basketball was invented in a Massachusetts gym. In 1891, a Canadian PE instructor named James Naismith was tasked with creating a new indoor sport to keep students active during harsh New England winters. Inside a YMCA gymnasium in Springfield, Massachusetts, he nailed 2 peach baskets to a balcony and wrote 13 simple rules. Basketball was born. What began as a winter exercise experiment evolved into a global sport played by hundreds of millions. The original rules were published in a Massachusetts newspaper, and the first game used a soccer ball. Today, the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame stands in Springfield, anchoring the sport permanently to Massachusetts soil. Number 47. Volleyball was also invented here. Just 4 years after basketball, volleyball was invented in Holyoke, Massachusetts. In 1895, instructor William Morgan designed the game as a less physically demanding alternative. It was later renamed volleyball after observers noted the ball's continuous volleying motion. From a single Massachusetts gymnasium, the sport spread internationally through YMCA networks. Today, volleyball is one of the most played sports in the world, and its quiet origin traces back to a small industrial town along the Connecticut River. Number 46. The Great Molasses Flood was a real deadly disaster. In January 1919, a massive storage tank holding 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst in Boston's North End. A 25-high-foot wave of sticky syrup rushed through the streets at an estimated 35 miles an hour, collapsing buildings, uprooting steel beams, and killing 21 people. The molasses hardened in the winter cold, trapping victims and rescue workers alike. The disaster led to landmark changes in industrial safety regulations and engineering oversight across the United States. For decades afterward, locals claimed the area still smelled faintly of molasses on hot days. This was not folklore, it was one of the strangest industrial disasters in American history. Number 45. Massachusetts was almost its own country. In late 18th century, tensions between rural farmers and the Massachusetts government erupted into Shays' Rebellion. Veterans of the Revolutionary War, unpaid and facing foreclosures, organized armed resistance against courts and tax collectors. For months, the state teetered on the edge of collapse. The uprising exposed the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation and directly influenced the creation of the U.S. Constitution. Massachusetts didn't just witness rebellion, it nearly fractured the young nation. Without this crisis, the federal system of government as we know it might never have existed. Number 44. Some Massachusetts forests are second growth, not natural. Nearly 80% of Massachusetts was deforested by the mid-1800s for agriculture and timber. The forests you see today are largely second-growth woodlands that reclaimed abandoned farmlands as industrialization pulled people into cities. Stone walls hidden deep in the ancient woods mark former property lines and pastures, meaning many ancient forests are actually younger than the state itself. Wildlife populations, soil composition, and tree diversity are still recovering from this massive ecological reset, making Massachusetts forests living records of human land use rather than untouched wilderness. Number 43. Cape Cod was created by glaciers, not the ocean. Cape Cod's iconic hook shape wasn't carved by waves, it was dumped into place by retreating glaciers around 15,000 years ago. As the ice sheets melted, it released massive piles of sand, gravel, and debris, forming moraines and outwash plains. Ocean currents later reshaped the deposits, but the Cape's existence is fundamentally glacial. That's why Cape Cod constantly changes shape, with beaches eroding in one area while expanding in another. It's not a stable landform, it's a frozen accident still settling into place. Number 42. Massachusetts has more colleges per square mile than any other state. With over 100 colleges and universities packed into a relatively small area, Massachusetts holds one of the highest concentrations of higher education institutions on Earth. This density fuels constant innovation, research, and cultural exchange. Whole neighborhoods are shaped by academic calendars, student populations, and research funding cycles. The state's economy is deeply intertwined with its universities, influencing biotech, engineering, medicine, and AI. Massachusetts isn't just educated, it's structurally built around education in a way few places in the world are. Number 41. Dunkin' was born in a Massachusetts shipyard town. The first Dunkin' Donuts opened in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1950. Originally called Open Kettle, it rebranded to focus on speed, consistency, and affordability for working-class customers. The concept of standardized coffee and donuts sold rapidly was revolutionary at the time. Dunkin' grew alongside New England's commuter culture, becoming a cultural fixture long before expanding nationwide. Its Massachusetts roots explain why the brand remains deeply ingrained in the region's identity, functioning less like a chain and more like public infrastructure. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, WunderLust Labs. We're just getting started. Number 40. Massachusetts once executed people for practicing witchcraft. Between 1692 and 93, Massachusetts carried out the only state-sanctioned executions for witchcraft in American history. During the Salem witch trials, 19 people were hanged and one was pressed to death under heavy stones. The trials relied on spectral evidence, personal grudges, and religious panic rather than physical proof. Years later, the colony formally admitted fault, issued reversals of conviction, and paid restitution to families. The episode permanently altered American legal standards, helping eliminate the use of superstition-based testimony in courts. It remains one of the most infamous judicial failures in Western history. Number 39. There is an island in Massachusetts covered in abandoned military forts. Boston Harbor contains dozens of fortified islands, many housing decaying military structures dating from the Civil War through World War II. George's Island, Pettus Island, and Fort Warren were built to defend Boston from naval invasion. Some were later used as prisons, training grounds, or Cold War defense installations. Many of these forts were abandoned suddenly, leaving tunnels, gun batteries, and concrete bunkers sealed in time. Today, visitors can explore portions of these sites where rusted artillery still points toward the sea, guarding a city that no longer needs them. Number 38. Massachusetts has recorded earthquakes for over 350 years. Although not known for seismic activity, Massachusetts experiences regular earthquakes, some dating back to the 1600s. The strongest hit Cape Ann in 1755, estimated a magnitude 6.0, damaging buildings as far away as Boston and shaking church bells. Because New England sits on ancient rigid bedrock, seismic waves travel farther than in the western U.S., meaning even small quakes are widely felt. Modern monitoring shows the state still experiences dozens of minor tremors every year, proving the region is geologically quieter, not inactive. Number 37. The state has a law against dueling that still exists. So Massachusetts formally outlawed dueling back in the 19th century after a series of pretty high-profile political deaths. While obviously unenforced today, that anti-dueling statute is still on the books, making it technically illegal to challenge someone in a formal duel, even with non-lethal weapons. The law was part of a broader movement to curb honor-based violence that once plagued American politics. Its survival in modern legal codes is a reminder of how deeply personal violence once intersected with public office and social standing. Number 36. Harvard owns a collection of glass flowers so real they fooled scientists. At Harvard University sits the Glass Flowers, a collection of over 4,000 botanical models handcrafted from glass in the late 19th century. Crafted by German artisans Leopold and Rudolf Blaschka, the models were designed for scientific study before color photography existed. Their accuracy is so extreme that even trained botanists have mistaken them for real plants. The project took decades to complete and remains unmatched in detail. Some species preserved in glass are now extinct, making the collection both a scientific record and an artistic miracle. Number 35. Massachusetts state dessert was invented by accident, not tradition. The official state dessert of Massachusetts, the Boston cream pie, isn't a pie at all. It was actually created in the mid-1800s at the Boston Parker House Hotel during a time when cake and pie got baked in the same pans and the terms were often interchangeable. Pastry chefs layered sponge cake with custard filling and topped it with chocolate glaze, calling it a pie simply because of the cookware used. Chocolate itself was still considered a novelty ingredient in desserts. Over time, the name stuck, even as baking practices evolved. When Massachusetts officially named it the state dessert of 1996, it wasn't honoring elegance or precision. It was honoring a culinary mistake that became iconic. In Massachusetts, even accidents can become official history. Number 34. Boston was once the most polluted harbor in America. By the mid-20th century, Boston Harbor was so contaminated with sewage and industrial waste that it was nicknamed the Harbor of Shame. Beaches were closed, fish populations collapsed, and oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. In response, Massachusetts launched one of the largest environmental cleanup projects in U.S. history. Billions of dollars later, the harbor was transformed. Today, it supports marine life, recreation, and tourism. The cleanup became a national model for environmental restoration, proving large-scale ecological recovery was possible. Number 33. Massachusetts has one of the oldest operating zoos in the world. Founded in 1888, the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston is among the oldest continually operating zoos on Earth. It pioneered the concept of naturalistic habitats rather than iron bar cages, influencing modern zoo design worldwide. The zoo survived economic depressions, wars, and shifting public attitudes toward animal conservation. Its existence charts the evolution of how humans interact with wildlife, moving from exhibition to education and preservation. What began as entertainment slowly transformed into a scientific and ethical mission. Number 32. The state once banned Christmas. In 1659, the Puritan government of Massachusetts outlawed the celebration of Christmas, considering it a pagan and immoral holiday. Anyone caught celebrating faced fines. The ban lasted over 20 years and reflected the colony's rigid religious control. Christmas wasn't recognized as a federal holiday until 1870. Today, festive imagery clashes sharply with Massachusetts' early hostility toward the holiday, revealing just how dramatically cultural norms can shift within the same geographic space. Number 31. Massachusetts has tidal rivers that flow backwards. Along the coast, several Massachusetts rivers reverse direction twice daily due to powerful tidal forces. Rivers like the Charles and the Mystic are influenced more by the Atlantic Ocean than inland runoff. During high tide, seawater pushes upstream, altering salinity, sediment movement, and aquatic life patterns. This reversal complicated flood control and infrastructure planning and required the construction of specialized dams and locks. These rivers don't just flow, they negotiate with the ocean on a schedule older than the state itself. Number 30. Massachusetts has a bridge that changes lanes midday. The Zigzag Bridge in Worcester once required drivers to cross railroad tracks at sharp angles, creating one of the most confusing traffic layouts in the state. While the original zigzag design has since been modernized, Massachusetts still maintains several reversible lane bridges and roadways that change traffic direction based on time of day. These systems were early attempts to manage commuter surges before modern traffic modeling existed. They demanded precise timing, signage discipline, and driver awareness. Massachusetts infrastructure often reflects layered solutions stacked across centuries rather than clean redesigns. Number 29. Boston streets were never planned, they evolved. Unlike grid-based American cities, Boston's street layout grew organically from cowpaths, colonial foot trails, and shoreline contours. As the city expanded, land was filled in around these paths rather than replaced. The result is a maze of narrow, curving streets that seems illogical by modern standards. Some intersections are shaped by property disputes from the 1700s. Others follow vanished streams or original harbor edges. This accidental design frustrates navigation but preserves Boston's historical DNA. The city isn't disorganized, it's archaeologically layered. Number 28. Massachusetts has one of the most extreme weather swings in the U.S. The state regularly experiences temperature swings of over 50 degrees Fahrenheit within days. Arctic air masses from Canada collide with warm Atlantic systems, producing volatile shifts. Massachusetts holds records for rapid temperature drops and sudden blizzards followed by spring-like thaws. Nor'easters can deliver hurricane-force winds, coastal flooding, and heavy snow in a single event. This volatility influenced early architecture, emergency planning, and even cultural attitudes toward preparedness. In Massachusetts, the weather doesn't just transition, it ambushes. Number 27. Boston is literally built on the ocean floor. More than half of modern Boston is landfill. Entire coves, tidal flats, and marshes were filled during the 19th century using gravel from nearby hills, some of which were completely leveled. Neighborhoods like Back Bay and the Seaport District sit atop former ocean floors. Wooden pilings driven into the mud still support many historic buildings, preserved only because they remain submerged. As groundwater levels drop, these pilings risk decay, threatening structural integrity. Beneath Boston's streets lies a drowned city holding the original coastline. Number 26. Massachusetts has a town with 0 residents. Gosnold, located on the Elizabeth Islands, consistently ranks among the least populated municipalities in the U.S., with fewer than 100 year-round residents and sometimes fewer than 50. Some years, official census counts approach 0 during the off-season. Despite this, Gosnold maintains full municipal status, including governance responsibilities and infrastructure obligations. Services fluctuate with seasonal population changes, and access depends on boats or small aircraft. It challenges conventional definitions of what constitutes a functioning town in modern America. Number 25. The state has one of the most densely studied human populations on Earth. Due to its concentration of hospitals, universities, and long-running public health studies, Massachusetts' population has been extensively documented for decades. Projects like the Framingham Heart Study transform global understanding of cardiovascular disease by tracking residents across generations. Data collected here reshaped medical guidelines worldwide. The state's residents unknowingly contributed to breakthroughs in cholesterol research, smoking risks, and genetic predispositions. Massachusetts didn't just educate the world, it helped medically map it. Number 24. There are abandoned missile sites hidden in Massachusetts forests. During the Cold War, Massachusetts housed Nike missile installations designed to intercept Soviet bombers targeting the Northeast. These sites were scattered in rural and suburban areas, camouflaged within forests. After the missile program got dismantled back in the 70s, many locations were sealed, abandoned, or repurposed. Concrete pads, underground bunkers, and radar foundations remain hidden beneath the trees. These quiet woods once stood on constant alert for nuclear war. Number 23. Massachusetts was a global whaling superpower. Back in the 19th century, towns like New Bedford and Nantucket formed the heart of the global whaling industry. Massachusetts ships supplied most of the world's whale oil used for lighting cities and lubricating machinery. Voyages lasted years, circled the globe, and reshaped marine ecosystems. The industry fueled immense wealth while pushing whale populations toward collapse. Herman Melville's Moby Dick drew directly from this era. Few states so dramatically influenced both global commerce and environmental depletion. Number 22. Massachusetts still carries Puritan-era laws. Some of Massachusetts' strangest laws aren't jokes, they're leftovers, known as blue laws, dating back to the Puritan times, when the government enforced morality as law. Instead of being repealed, many were simply ignored as society changed. That's how regulations on food, booze, public behavior, and even personal conduct survived in the modern era. While rarely enforced today, legal historians note that these statutes are still on the books unless challenged. Massachusetts didn't erase its past, it archived it in the law. Number 21. Massachusetts still has some of the strictest building codes in America. The state's construction standards are among the most demanding in the country, shaped by fire disasters, structural collapse, harsh winters, and dense urban living. Massachusetts requires advanced insulation, fire suppression, and structural integrity measures that exceed national minimums. These codes influenced modern energy efficiency standards and safety practices nationwide. While costly, they drastically reduce long-term risk. In Massachusetts, buildings are engineered for survival, not convenience. If this countdown is earning its place in your watch history, like the video and subscribe to WunderLust Labs. The final stretch is where Massachusetts gets really strange. Number 20. Massachusetts has one of the deadliest coastlines in New England. Despite its postcard beauty, the Massachusetts coastline is historically dangerous. Shifting sandbars, dense fog, and powerful nor'easters caused thousands of shipwrecks over the centuries. Cape Cod alone earned the nickname Graveyard of the Atlantic. Cold water temps drastically reduced survival time during immersion, even in summer months. Before modern navigation, ships could be driven ashore within minutes by sudden storms. The danger-shaped lighthouse placement, life-saving stations, and early maritime rescue protocols that later became national standards. Number 19. Western Massachusetts is home to the longest place name in the Western Hemisphere. In central Massachusetts lies Webster Lake, better known by its original Nipmuc name, Chargogagog Manchagagagog Chabunagagog. At 45 letters long, it's widely recognized as the longest place name in the Western Hemisphere, and one of the longest geographic names in the world. The name roughly translates to "You fish on your side, I fish on my side, nobody fishes in the middle." Contrary to myth, the name was not a joke or a publicity stunt. It reflects indigenous territorial agreements and resource boundaries long before European settlement. Early English settlers shortened it for convenience, but the full name survives on maps, signage, and historical records. The lake's name is a rare case where native language, legal geography, and cultural memory resisted erasure. In Massachusetts, even the map can be a sentence. Number 18. The first public park in America opened here. Boston Common, established in 1634, is the oldest public park in the U.S. Originally used for grazing livestock, it later became a gathering place for protests, military encampments, and public executions. British troops camped there before the Revolutionary War. Over time, it transformed into a civic green space that inspired urban parks across the nation. What appeared to be a peaceful lawn once hosted some of the most volatile moments in early American history. Number 17. Massachusetts has a highway tunnel running beneath an active city. Boston's Central Artery Tunnel, part of the Big Dig, runs beneath one of the oldest continuously occupied cities in North America. Construction required rerouting utilities, stabilizing historic buildings, and excavating beneath active streets without stopping daily life above. At its peak, it was the most expensive highway project in U.S. history. The tunnel fundamentally reshaped traffic flow and reclaimed surface land for parks and walkways, hiding one of the largest engineering projects ever attempted under the city itself. Number 16. Massachusetts once required residents to attend church. During the colonial period, Massachusetts enforced mandatory church attendance. Fines or punishment awaited those who skipped services, reflecting the tight fusion of religious and governance under Puritan rule. Religious dissenters were expelled or worse. This environment directly influenced later constitutional protections for religious freedom. Ironically, some of the strongest arguments for separating church and state emerged from people leaving Massachusetts' early religious control. Number 15. The state has town borders that don't match maps. Several Massachusetts town borders are defined by natural features that no longer exist, like vanished trees, rerouted streams, or eroded stone markers. As a result, some borders appeared illogical on modern maps. Property disputes still arise from centuries-old survey descriptions referencing landmarks lost to time. In rare cases, GPS coordinates conflict with legal boundary definitions, forcing the courts to rely on handwritten colonial documents to settle modern disputes. Number 14. Massachusetts helped invent the modern fire department. After repeated urban fires in dense wooden cities, Massachusetts communities organized professional firefighting units. Boston established one of the first paid fire departments in the country in the mid-1800s. Innovations included steam-powered fire engines, standardized training, and coordinated alarm systems. These practices spread nationally, shaping modern emergency response. The state's emphasis on fire prevention influenced building codes that still affect construction today. Number 13. There are ghost stations beneath Boston's subway. Boston's subway contains abandoned stations and sealed tunnels hidden behind walls and service stores. Stations like the original Scollay Square were closed, relocated, or buried as lines evolved. Trains pass these dark spaces daily, and some are used for storage or emergency access, while others have been untouched for literal decades. They're not myths. They're byproducts of running the oldest subway in America while constantly adapting it. Number 12. Fenway Park is actively shrinking and expanding at the same time. Opened back in 1912, Fenway's the oldest continuously operating ballpark in MLB, but it's never stopped changing. Unlike modern stadiums built once and preserved, Fenway's been constantly re-engineered in place for more than 100 years. Walls have been moved, bullpens relocated, seating added, removed, re-angled, and field dimensions subtly altered to adapt to safety standards. Sightlines and modern play, and the famous Green Monster itself grew taller in 1934. Because of these incremental changes, Fenway technically exists in multiple architectural versions layered atop one another. The park you see today is not the one that opened in 1912. It's a living structure, evolving without ever leaving its original footprint. Fenway hasn't been replaced because it's never stopped becoming something new. Number 11. The state has forests that conceal forgotten cemeteries. Across Massachusetts, hundreds of unmarked or abandoned burial grounds lie in hidden woods and fields. Many date back to colonial settlements that vanished through migration, war, or consolidation. Gravestones eroded or sank, leaving only depressions in the soil. These forgotten cemeteries complicate development and land use, sometimes halting construction when human remains are rediscovered. Massachusetts' landscape quietly preserves generations whose towns no longer exist. And if you made it this far, like the video and be sure you're subscribed to our WunderLust Labs YouTube channel, because the strangest truths are still ahead. Number 10. Massachusetts was the first state to legalize same-sex marriage. In 2004, Massachusetts became the first U.S. state to legalize same-sex marriage, following the landmark of Goodrich versus Department of Health's decision. The ruling declared denying marriage licenses unconstitutional under the state's constitution. The decision reshaped national legal debates and set a precedent that would ripple across the country for more than a decade. Long before federal recognition, Massachusetts stood alone, absorbing political pressure, national scrutiny, and historic responsibility. Number 9. The first American lighthouse was built here. In 1716, Boston Light was constructed on the Little Brewster Island, becoming the first lighthouse in the world in what would become the United States. It guided ships through treacherous harbor waters long before radar or GPS. Though destroyed during the Revolutionary War, it got rebuilt in 1783 and remains operational today. The lighthouse marks the beginning of America's maritime safety network and symbolizes Massachusetts' early dominance in navigation and trade. Number 8. Dr. Seuss built entire fantasy worlds from a Massachusetts childhood. Dr. Seuss, born Theodore Geisel in Springfield, Massachusetts, drew lifelong inspiration from the city's architecture, factories, and landscapes. Springfield's mix of Victorian homes, looming smokestacks, and the Connecticut River directly shaped the exaggerated skylines, crooked buildings, and mechanical creatures that populate his books. Even the Springfield Armory, once a major weapons manufacturer, is believed to have influenced Seuss's obsession with elaborate machines and absurd contraptions. Unlike many authors who invented worlds detached from reality, Seuss exaggerated the familiar until it became surreal. His stories weren't escapes from Massachusetts, they were distorted reflections of it. Beneath the rhymes and whimsy lies a New England industrial city, bent and stretched into something unforgettable. Number 7. Massachusetts has more Revolutionary War sites than any other state. From Lexington and Concord to Bunker Hill, Massachusetts contains hundreds of verified Revolutionary War locations. Roads, taverns, fields, and bridges all played roles in igniting armed rebellion. Many of these sites remain woven into everyday neighborhoods, unmarked and overlooked. The revolution didn't erupt in one place. It fractured across Massachusetts in fragments that still exist beneath modern life. Number 6. The state's forests once powered the whole British Navy. During the colonial era, Massachusetts' towering white pine trees were claimed by the British Crown to build naval masts. Trees marked with the King's Broad Arrow were legally reserved for the Royal Navy. Colonists who cut them illegally faced fines or arrest. This exploitation of New England forests fueled resentment and became one of the many grievances that fed revolutionary anger long before the shots got fired. Number 5. Massachusetts invented the modern public school system. In the 19th century, Massachusetts became the first state to mandate free, publicly funded education. Reformers like Horace Mann believed education was essential to democracy and social stability. The system standardized curricula, teacher training, and school attendance. This model spread nationwide and became the backbone of American public education. Classrooms across the country trace their structure back to Massachusetts policy experiments. Number 4. Boston is home to one of the largest man-made landfills turned neighborhoods. The Back Bay neighborhood was once open water. Entire hills got leveled and dumped into the bay during the 1800s to create usable land. Today, elegant brownstones sit atop engineered fill supported by wooden pilings. If groundwater levels drop, those pilings risk rot. This means some of Boston's most expensive real estate depends on submerged wood staying wet to survive. Number 3. It was once illegal to wear certain facial hair without permission. In the 19th century, Boston enforced grooming laws tied to public morality and decency. One ordinance required men to obtain special permission to wear certain facial hairstyles, including goatees. While long obsolete and unenforced, the law technically remained on the books for decades. It reflects how Massachusetts once legislated personal appearance, blending law, religion, and social control in everyday life. Number 2. Massachusetts is where the Thanksgiving story was simplified into a myth. The version of Thanksgiving most Americans know was constructed long after actual events, and Massachusetts is where that began. In the early 1600s, pilgrims of the Plymouth colony didn't celebrate an annual holiday called Thanksgiving, nor did they frame their harvest gatherings as symbols of unity. Early feasts were irregular, religiously motivated, and often followed periods of extreme hardship, conflict, and famine. Relations with native tribes were complex, strategic, and frequently violent, not consistently cooperative. The modern Thanksgiving narrative emerged in the 19th century when writers and educators reshaped Massachusetts' colonial history into a unifying national origin story. What began as survival in a hostile environment became over time a carefully edited cultural myth rooted in the Bay State. Number 1. Massachusetts didn't just shape America, it tested it first. Nearly every defining American idea passed through Massachusetts under pressure first. Revolution before independence, public education before nationwide adoption, marriage equality before federal law, industrialization before regulation, environmental collapse before recovery. This state became a proving ground where ideas either survived or shattered. Massachusetts isn't just history, it's America's stress tests replayed across centuries. Massachusetts doesn't just tell stories, it stores them. In bedrock older than memory, in coastlines that move, retreat, and return, in laws that refuse to disappear, in cities built on water, silence, and buried ground. This is where ideas were tested under pressure, where belief became law, where rebellion became blueprint, where mistakes became institutions, and institutions reshaped the nation. Before America knew what it was, Massachusetts forced the question. Every street you walk here crosses something erased. Every harbor reflects something survived. Every tradition carries edits, omissions, and echoes of what really happened. This state didn't just help build the United States, it challenged it first. If this journey changed how you see Massachusetts, like this video. If you want to keep uncovering the truths hiding behind familiar places, subscribe to WunderLust Labs, because history isn't finished, it's layered. And somewhere beneath the surface, there's always more waiting to be found. We'll see you in the next state.